Hello, hello. Welcome to day 12 of our Soulergy Power of Prayer edition. My name is Churchill. I'm one of the pastors here at Pinnacle Village. And today we tackle the topic of perseverance. So, we live in a world that is all about instant gratification. From text messages, Google, online shopping with next day shipping, instant noodles, all these things where we input something from our end and get the output right away. And we tend to carry these same expectations when it comes to our prayer life, where we pop a prayer to God and expect the answer overnight. That if we don't get what we ask for in our first effort, we tend to automatically go to the thought that, oh, it must not be of God's will, or that God said no. But there is a difference between submission and our spiritual apathy. So, in our times of prayer, God wants us to keep going. God wants us to not give up. Luke chapter 18, 1 through 8 reads, Then Jesus told his disciples a parable to show them that they should always pray and not give up. He said, In a certain town there was a judge who neither feared God nor cared what people thought. And there was a widow in that town who kept coming to him with the plea, Grant me justice against my adversary. For some time he refused. But finally he said to himself, Even though I don't fear God or care what people think, yet because this widow keeps bothering me, I will see that she gets justice so that she won't eventually come and attack me. And the Lord said, Listen to what the unjust judge says. And will not God bring about justice for his chosen ones, who cry out to him day and night? Will he keep putting them off? I tell you, he will see that they get justice and quickly. However, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth? So, like the widow, Jesus calls us to persevere in our prayers. That there must be this holy boldness within us that refuses to take no as an answer. But of course, we must be careful in what we ask from God. But when we begin to pray for that specific thing, we should not give up in praying for it. That we must keep chiseling away at it. We must keep hammering away until he answers or until he makes it very clear and very definite that it is not of his will. But until then, we must keep going. And many times you may hear from our other pastors that there is a difference between no and not yet, a difference between the denial and a delay. You see, God does not answer every one of our whims. He's not a vending machine. He's not here to answer every passing want that's here and then disappears after 10 minutes or so. God looks at the deepest desires of our hearts, the things, the people that we persistently pray for day in and day out. But in our own walks with God, we may all experience a dry season, days where we feel distant from God, days when it is hard to feel his presence, or days when it just feels like our prayers just aren't reaching, aren't budging. So what many times what ends up happening is that we give up early on praying for that specific thing because we think that nothing is happening. And then we just move on to the next item on our list. But God gives us that space to feel alone. Same thing within our own families, that there comes a time when a parent must leave their child home alone for the first time. That in the same way, it is a test of our own character, a test of our own maturity. That there is this break before the breakthrough. That there is this break before the breakthrough. That there's this stressing before the blessing, if you will. So on the days when it is hard to feel him, days when it is days when we just don't feel like praying, when our emotions fluctuate, when we are going through a dry season, when it's hard to see the fruits of our labor in prayer, God is asking us, how desperate are you? How desperate are you to hear from me? I'm reminded from back in Genesis when Jacob heard his brother Esau was on his way to meet him with 400 men. Jacob feared for his life. He was scared that his brother was on his way to kill him. So Jacob sent his family away and was left all alone in the desert wilderness. So Genesis 32:24 through 26 reads, "So Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him till daybreak. When the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip so that his hip was wrenched as he wrestled with the man. Then the man said, 'Let me go, for it is daybreak.' But Jacob replied, 'I will not let you go unless you bless me. I will not let you go unless you bless me.'" That even with a broken hip, even with all these fears, worries, and anxieties, Jacob refused to let God go. And this is not us pulling God to our will or to our agenda. No, this is the defeat of ourself. That God, I don't want to be the same anymore. Make me different. So that in our weakness, in our loneliness, in all our fears and anxieties, we face God so that He may be our strength. Because the more we come to Him in our times of prayer, in our times of just desperate longing for His presence, God is working on us as we work in prayer. God is working on us as we work in prayer. And we know full well that prayer isn't just about presenting our requests or concerns to God. Prayer is meant to transform us from the inside out, to make us ready when God finally delivers, when God finally answers that prayer we've been praying for so long. Galatians 6:9 tells us, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." So some of our prayers may take days, weeks, or months on end, or even years before we begin to see the fruit of it. Some prayers may not even be answered within our own lifetimes. George Mueller himself prayed for two men for more than 60 years, and one of these men came to the faith shortly before his own death, and the other converted within a year after George Mueller's death. So that is why we must have faith. You see, faith is not a blind leap. It is a turning to. It is trust. Hebrews 11:1 reminds us, "Now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see." That is why we must keep going. That is why we must not give up. That is where we reach that point of surrender. And to surrender does not simply mean to just give up. No. Surrender is the refusal to give up. To surrender is allowing God to change me, to change my character over my circumstances. That is why what we need as a village is not people that just start out praying, but beyond the Soulergy, beyond the summit, beyond all the events, we need people who will continue to pray on and on and on, desperately crying out to the Lord day and night. That, Lord, hear our prayer, hear our cry. Because every answered prayer first begins as a deep desire in our hearts, first begins as a dream. And those desires will continue to deepen and refine the more we come before God with them. And the more we continue to pray, the more we ourselves are also deepened, refined, and transformed. And PV is a testament to that. Our center itself is a testament of the Lord being with us through it all. And PV itself is a result of people coming in week after week to make it what it is. You see, every Saturday I have the privilege and opportunity of helping our titos and titas with renovations and cleanup around PV, whether it be raking the leaves, building playground equipment, stacking chairs. And if you were to see our center, it is a very beautiful place. But what makes it even more beautiful are the stories of how it was built. Stories of families, first and second gen, from here in LA, San Francisco, East Coast, in the Philippines, all coming together to make our center what it is. But beyond the physical labor, PV was built through our people around the world, first persevering in prayer. And that desire for our church has continued to deepen throughout over the years. From Lord, may you bless us with a place, to Lord, help us find the means and manpower in physically building your church, to now, Lord, allow us to be your village set upon a hill. The dedication of our Epic Hub, where we hold our services, there was a video that was shown where my dad shared our journey as a village during the renovations. And at the end of the video, he shared that we were just following a dream in hope that those who come after us may build upon that dream. So PV, no matter how old, no matter how young we are, let us not give up on dreaming. Let's keep going. For all the people that enter our buildings, for all the people that sit in the seats, for all the people that we still haven't met yet, let us keep running that race together with all our might, with all our heart. PV, let's dream a bigger dream.